Hi class, and welcome to today's reading lesson. What we've been learning this week is about retelling stories and retelling events. I'm going to hold up our I can statement and we're going to read it together. What we are learning this week. Let's read it together. I can retell a story in order of how the events happened. So that just means you can tell a story again after you hear it or after you read it in order of how the events happened. So let's review this very bottom portion of our anchor chart. It says, good readers, sequence events. So that means you put the events in order of how they happened. So you say first, next, then last, how the events happened. So what we're learning about is we are retelling events based off of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. So our BME stands for beginning, middle, and end. I'm going to review these questions one more time, but I know you guys remember them from this past week. So we have to answer a couple questions in order to tell about the beginning of the story. And these questions are, who are the characters? So what are characters? That's right. That is who the story is about. Good job. What is the setting? What's a setting? That's right. That is where a story takes place. Good job. For the middle, you have to answer this question. What happens to the characters? And what usually happens in the middle of the story? That's right. Usually there's a problem in the middle of the story. That's how you'll know you're in the middle of the story. Usually there's a problem or something big happens. Then the E stands for end, and you have to answer another question to tell about the end. You answer, how are the characters different than they were at the beginning of the story? So you have to answer the question, how have they changed since the beginning of the story? And what usually happens at the end of the story? That's right. Usually there's a solution. Yay, solution. Because we have a problem in the middle and we have to fix it in the end. So that's usually how you know you're at the end of the story. Great job. So this is one of my favorite stories, and I think it's really silly, and it's a great story to learn about the beginning, middle, and end. And I'm really excited to share it with you. It is called Mother Bruce by Ryan Higgins. Okay, let's read it together. Bruce was a bear who lived all by himself. He was a grump. So already we can answer one of these questions at the beginning. Who are the characters? So who's the character? Yep, it is Bruce. And what is he like? I'm using my question words. Remember our question words from last week? What is Bruce like? It told us in this first page. I'll read it to you one more time. Bruce was a bear who lived all by himself. He was a grump. So what's he like? Yeah, he's really grumpy. Good job. Good readers ask and answer questions as they read. He did not like sunny days. He did not like rain. He did not like cute little animals. But the only thing he liked, eggs. He collected them from all over the forest. But he only liked one thing, eggs. He collected them all over the forest. Good morning, Miss Sparrow. But Bruce didn't eat eggs raw like other bears. Instead, he cooked them into fancy recipes that he found on the internet. So far, what is Bruce like? He's pretty grumpy. He doesn't like a lot of things, but the only thing he likes is eggs. So we know that about Bruce so far. What about this setting? What is the setting? Where does the story take place? So it looks like it is taking place in the woods and in his den, in the bear den. Okay, so now we've done the beginning of the story. We know about the beginning, answered those questions. One day, Bruce came across a recipe for hard-boiled goose eggs drizzled with honey salmon sauce. That sounds delicious. So he went out to get the ingredients. First, he caught a few salmon. Then he collected honey from a local beehive. He liked to support local businesses, you see. Last, he went to Miss Goose's nest to pay her a visit. Are these eggs free-range organic? So now we are seeing his setting as well, where he's at. He's in the woods, and he is going to get groceries from other animals and other places. At home, Bruce prepared the eggs for hard boiling, but the fire in his stove fizzled. So he went out to get more wood. But when Bruce came back, he was met with an unwelcome surprise. What do you predict will happen on the next page? What do you predict? So that means, what do you think is going to happen? All right, let's see. Mama! Look at that picture. It looks like those are goslings. Bruce became the victim of a mistaken identity. So they think that Bruce is their mom. So we are in the middle of the story. Something bad has happened. A problem has happened. So we have to answer this question. What happens to the characters? What happens to Bruce in this page? I'll give you a moment to think of the answer to that. He gets mistaken as a group of goslings' mom, which is pretty crazy. Bruce wanted hard-boiled eggs, not goslings. He supposed he could settle for buttered goslings on toast, but for some reason he lost his appetite. He didn't want to eat the goslings. Bruce scooped up the little geese and stomped them back to their nest. I will have to ask Mrs. Goose about her return policy, only to find that Mrs. Goose had flown south early. So she's gone. It says be back in April in that picture. Uh-oh, she's gone. Bruce left the goslings there anyway and went back home. So he left them. How does Bruce feel about the goslings? How do you think Bruce feels about the goslings? I think he doesn't like them very much. He doesn't want them right now. He doesn't want to take care of them. Mama, Mama, but then he was followed. Bruce was very stern and said things like, go away, and I'm not your mother, and also, I liked you better when you were eggs. Roar! Bruce could take it no longer, and he became extra grumpy with them. They look so sad on that page. I bet the goslings are sad. It didn't work. Mama, goslings always followed their mother, even if she is a he and he is a bear. So these goslings think that Bruce is their mom. So there he is, all grumpily walking, and the goslings following him. Bruce was stuck with them. He tried to make the best of it. So he's going swimming with him. It was hard work. He's painting with them. He's carrying them. Blech! Ew! Yuck! He's trying to feed them. And then they're sleeping. They're all sleeping. Annoying baby geese. Stubborn teenage geese and boring adult geese. As seasons passed, Bruce watched the pesky goslings grow older. So they ended up turning into teenagers and then adults. One fall afternoon, he saw the other goose families flying south. Finally, he'd be rid of these geese, and he could take a long winter nap. Bruce explained migration. So geese go south, and he was trying to explain that to the geese. But they didn't listen. Bruce needed the geese to leave, so he got creative. Look, he's making like a slingshot to send them off. Nothing worked. The geese would not leave Bruce. Sigh. Do you think the geese love Bruce? I think they do. So Bruce decided to pack some bags and take his geese into town. They boarded a bus and migrated to Miami. That's in Florida. Now every winter, Bruce and his geese head south together. They laze about at the beach in tacky shirts, sipping ice-cold lemonade, while Bruce dreams of new recipes that don't hatch. So now we know we're at the end of the story. So we need to answer the question, how are the characters different than they were at the beginning of the story? So how is Bruce different than he was at the beginning of the story? I'd like you to answer that question. So think of that in your head. Yeah, he ends up really liking the geese. He's a little bit less grumpy and he ends up liking the geese because you can tell he wants to keep them and he's relaxing with them and um, does a vacation with them every winter. So we went over the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story, and we retold this story. So you're going to do an activity with this story today on Seesaw, and we can't wait to see what you can do. And thank you so much for reading the story with me. I had a great time with you today. Bye, boys and girls.